It didn't last the whole 6 years. It was cut short halfway through on the 11th of September 1973. Now, you've probably noticed that we have an avenue called 11th of September. You might have been surprised at seeing that. Okay? For us, 11th of September is a very important date, because that was the day that the army, led by Augusto Pinochet, carried out a coup against this government. Okay, you went to see the palace, didn't you? The Moneda Palace? Now, that's our White House. I know it's tiny, okay, compared to yours, but it's the equivalent of our White House. It's the symbol of democracy and government and stability in many ways. And on that day, it was attacked by the army. And it was bombed by the Air Force and attacked by the Land Army. Okay, so you could imagine that in many ways it's a traumatic day. Or at least, you know, even for people who supported the military coup, it's an important day, because it marks a definite shift, a very strong change in Chilean politics, Chilean economics, and Chilean society in general. From then on, we have 17 years of military rule, or military government, or military dictatorship, okay, or military regime. In Chile today, even today, you find that language betrays what people think. Okay, some people call this a military coup, others call it a military pronouncement. Okay, so, you know, or a military intervention. All right, so it all depends, you know, a lot of it depends on what you feel about what happened at this moment. And we have 17 years of military rule led by Augusto Pinochet. Now, I like to think 17 years is a really long time. It's an awful long time. And from 1973 to 1990, lots of things changed in the world. And Augusto Pinochet managed to stay in power during 17 years. And if you think about it, I mean, it takes a lot for somebody to stay in power that long. And it's not just about repressing or maintaining people controlled. It's also about keeping a lot of people happy. You have to keep some people happy. For example, the army, if you think about it. He had to stop the army going against him, for example. How did he do that, etc.? That's what I'd like to look into today, okay? But obviously, all very briefly. Who were these two men, these two such different people? Okay, Salvador Allende was born 1908, and a few years later, Augusto Pinochet was born in 1915.
Same time.
They were both born in the same place, where you went today. You went to Valparaiso, they were both born there. Okay, you know a lot of things. Okay, they were both born there, and they're both born to relatively wealthy families, especially Salvador Allende, really. And Salvador Allende's family is very linked to politics. It's one of these sort of old families. Augusto Pinochet's family wasn't as well known, but it was a rising family. Okay, now, Salvador Allende was a political animal from a very young age, and in fact, I would label him a political beast. All right, at the age of 25 in 1933, he graduated from university as a physician. That was the same year that he founded the Socialist Party. All right, so the Socialist Party today is in power. So that was probably one of the first really important things he did. When I talk about them, I'm going to sort of try and highlight the important things they did, the things that had a lasting effect. So if you think about it, he was one of the founders of the Socialist Party in power today, an important political movement. And at a very young age, 25 years old, he then became a legislator. He never practiced as a physician, actually. And the only thing that he did do as a physician was he did his work placement. But because he was so left-wing, he wasn't able to do it, he wasn't able to choose the hospital or the clinic at the time in Chile. At that time, Chile was a very poor country, really, and you know, we still have a lot of problems with income distribution today. But at that time in Chile, we had 50% of children under the age of 9 died in Chile, and it had the worst infant mortality rate. I'm giving you that just to give you an idea of where Allende was standing when he did his work placement in a very poor hospital, the only one that accepted him. Okay, he was blacklisted by them already. And he did autopsies. That's when you examine dead bodies. He did 1,500 autopsies in 1 year. And he said that he saw how people were dying. Children of malnutrition, women of violence, men also violence, alcoholism, etc., etc. Very poor conditions of life. You know, women who die in childbirth, etc. And he said, I know the drama of life and I've seen the causes of death. And he said that really made him become very strongly, he became very strongly committed to his Marxism after doing that. Okay, because he saw how people were dying. So his was really from the heart, I would say. He was never a great ideologist. All right, so you can sort of imagine this kind of man who wanted to carry out this revolution without the use of arms. All right. He became a legislator, a minister of health. He tried to implement the first national health service experiment in Chile. Okay, and he ran for president 4 times. Now that tells us he was a very ambitious man in many ways. He must have really believed in what he was doing. He must have thought what he was doing was right and that he had a chance. He must have been quite thick-skinned. I would have gone home after the 2nd time, but he carried on. He had a sense of humour, actually. He also said, after the 3rd time, he said, when I die, they're going to write on my gravestone, here lies Chile's future president. Did you talk about resources? No? Somebody said something about money? Well, that's quite an interesting point, actually. A lot of these, these people, well, obviously he was backed. He did have, his family had money. But these campaigns, they were carried out they were called the victory trains and the victory buses. And they would just travel throughout Chile. And that's one of the reasons that many people think he probably won the elections. He was so well known. They would just take a train and actually carried out with very, very little resources because they didn't have support from the people that had the resources at the time. And in fact, we'll get to that in a minute. That's quite an interesting point.